Welcome back to Goddess Power Podcast, and I am your host, Prashida. And today we're going to be talking about how to find your purpose, your passion, because I feel like a lot of people say that you'll find your purpose and your passion when you connect to your higher self, but what does that really mean, right? And I'm going to be sharing with you guys my personal journey and my story as well, a little bit of it, and how I found my purpose. So let's just get straight into it. So, how do you find your purpose? Because a lot of people always say your purpose is something that you love. But what if you love a lot of things and you don't know exactly what your purpose is? Or you can love fashion, you can love makeup, you can love reading, you can love writing, you can love dancing. But then you ask yourself, okay, but what is my purpose? What is it? And I'm going to be telling you exactly how to find your purpose. So how do you really find your purpose? Well, I would say this. I would say everything that tried to break you, all of the fears, all of the hardships that you have had in your life is what your purpose is. It's showing you in these moments because you didn't go through all that just to go through all that. You went through all that because on the other end of that fear and that wound that you have that was unhealed, or it may still be unhealed depending on where you are in your healing journey, that is your purpose, the other end of that. So I'll give you an example. In my life, I went through a lot of things where my light was completely dimmed. I used to be very outgoing, outspoken, loved to dance, loved to be outspoken, and just be me as a child. But as I got older and the people that I was surrounding myself with, they started to dim my light because they saw something in me that I didn't see because I thought I was just being me. And so my light started to get dimmed. And therefore, I started to get manipulated by the people that I was attracting when I was unhealed. Obviously, me being manipulated is not anyone's fault. I took the bait, right? I'm not blaming anyone, but I'm saying that from those experiences, that made me feel like I couldn't speak, have a voice, be seen, be heard. And on top of that, I couldn't I was unable to learn how to trust myself because I was manipulated by so many narcissists around me for so long. Because like I said, if you've watched my previous episodes, when you are a very sensitive empath, meaning old soul, you attract these narcissists or people with narcissistic tendencies because your light is like a moth to a flame, not just to butterflies, like beautiful people with beautiful energy, but also people that want to harvest your energy and take it for themselves. So I attracted a lot of that, which I'm sure you guys can understand if you were listening to my podcast. And so when my light started to become dim, I was so, like I said, I was afraid to be seen, heard, speak my truth, and really trust myself. But when I started to see things, starting to awaken and see things and see people for who they really are, and start to see myself for who I really am, not what people have put onto me, I started to heal. And when I started to heal, I started to recognize that wait, I lost my voice, I lost how to speak my truth, I lost how to trust myself. And when I healed that part of me, which took a lot of time because the more pain you have, the longer it'll take. But the end of that road, when you finally reach the healing part, is going to be so much more beautiful because the more pain you go through, the more beautiful the other end of the road is. That's where your beautiful journey begins as your higher self. But when I got to the other end, I started healing. Or not even just started to healing, like in the beginning phase of my healing journey, I started to recognize, like, wait, my purpose is me being me, meaning my purpose is to speak my truth, speak on what had happened to me, not out of a wounded energy, not out of a wounded place, not to call anyone out or for anyone out there to feel sorry for me, but to show people that I went through some major shit in my life and I don't look like I have, but I went through a lot. And here is my story and how I overcame it so I can help others. Because God didn't put me through all that for me to just go through all that. That's not how life works. God put me through all that so I can then teach people how to tap into their true inner power, especially to people that have went through so much and have lost themselves in their lives and don't know how to come out of it or feel stuck. And I am someone that has lived through many experiences and also came out on top from all of that. So now I share my story and my experiences to others, but in the beginning, I was still afraid to speak my truth and put myself out there on social media. And now I have a whole podcast because being vulnerable was also something new to me. As a child, I was always vulnerable, always sensitive, but that got dimmed because when people saw me become too sensitive, they started saying, I'm weak, I'm too much, or not enough. And so that part of me got dimmed. So when I started healing that part of me, I knew that this was my purpose, but I was still afraid, like, how am I going to sit here and be vulnerable not only in front of my friends and my family, but like, but the rest of the world that might see my videos? Like, it was hard for me, and at times it still is, even when I'm healed now. But I had to step into that version of me because I knew this was my purpose, because I knew that I love to help people. I love to uplift people. I love to make people feel seen, heard, and loved, because there was a point in my life where I'd had nobody see me for who I am. Matter of fact, I had people put me down while I was at my lowest when I didn't deserve any of that. The people that I thought were my family, my friends. But those things happened to me for a reason, and it helped me recognize who the hell I really am and what I'm really meant for. I was never someone that was interested in a 9 to 5 job. I was climbing up the ladder when I was working in the corporate field, but it never fulfilled me. I'm a creative being, and I'm not someone that is going to follow someone else's rules. I am my own leader. And when I lead other people, I don't lead them as like I'm better. I want people to walk with me. Hence why I always knew that I was meant for more, but I didn't know what that was until I started my healing journey. And my healing journey started in a rough patch because I had no choice, because I hit complete rock bottom. And but I'm so glad I did, because I am the best version of me. And I, like I said before, I will tell my story one day in an episode. But during that phase of my life, I realized, oh my God, everything I went through and I came out on top of, and all the betrayal I faced and still came out on top, and not turned bitter or angry, but turned into the even more pure and more kind and loving, but with strong boundaries. I I'm meant for more, and I knew that. And that happened through all the stuff that I went through. The fear of being seen, the fear of speaking out, the fear of really trusting myself and not being manipulated by others, and creating boundaries. Like, all these things started to show me, like, wait, this is my purpose. Because every time I would be around people, they would love my energy. They would always ask me for advice, my friends, my family. And every time I speak, it's like people would want to listen to me more and more. And I started realizing, like, when I would think about my past, even when I was unhealed, I was like, oh my God, that was always me. And I always loved to write. I always liked to talk. And I always liked to help people. Always. Like, I always wanted to help people, but sometimes I also had to learn that not everybody wants to be helped. And then I started to realize, wait, this is my purpose. But even then, it took me some time to pull up the camera and be vulnerable. It took me time, because I was new to being this highest version of me. I was new to being this vulnerable person, because even though I'm healed now, I'm still uncomfortable in this new version of me, because I've been this old version of me that was in survival mode for so long that it still becomes a little uncomfortable. But it doesn't mean that I still don't take those steps, because even once I found my purpose and my passion, it still was very, very scary for me. And but I didn't take that action yet until I healed myself and my nervous system. Because if I would have taken that action of being seen and sharing my story, that unhealed version of me while I was still healing, then I wouldn't be able to speak from truth and a grounded place. I would be speaking from a wounded place. And I'm not here to react or call anyone out. I'm here to share my story, because what had happened to me. And it happened to me for a reason, to help others get out of their state of where they're at. And so That's how I really found my purpose, through the pain that I went through. And the funny thing is, I all along always knew my purpose. I'm a very creative person. I'm a Leo. I love dancing. I love writing. I love art, I love hair, I love makeup, I love fashion, but I also am a very intellectual person that loves to learn and speak on truth and really dissect into the truth of everything, because I'm not a surface level person. I like to really understand why things are the way they are. Like, I never settled for the answer that people would give me in life. I would always be so curious. And my curiosity helped me through my own journey. But the thing is, that was all meant to happen. I had to go through all that stuff in my life, all that pain, because I was always a curious person. And that curiosity I just kept suppressing because of the environment I was around and the people I was around, because they were still in their state of mind where they didn't really understand and see beyond what people like us see, the truth of life. And that's okay, because not everyone is here on this earth to be on the same mission as everyone else. Everyone is on their own journey, right? Like I've said before in my previous episodes, some young souls, some are old souls, and each soul has a different journey. But it doesn't mean that we all need to give our energies to each other, especially those young souls that still have a lot of learning to do. Because if you keep your energy around those young souls, they will harvest your light and try to take from you and not give back to give you what you deserve, because they're still learning their basic human lessons. I've talked about old souls and young souls in my first episode, I believe, so go watch that if you haven't. But yeah, so anyways, I had to go through all that to find my purpose. And like I said, I was a very creative person. I was someone that didn't like the corporate world. I was someone that knew I was meant for more, but my creativity got dimmed. And even then, when I was on my healing journey, I still didn't know what I wanted to do, because that wasn't even my focus. I wasn't putting my focus on what do I need to do. I was focusing on healing because I was in the worst state of my life, that's all I could do. But during that process, I realized now is that when I didn't focus on what my purpose was and just took it a step at a time and focused on who I am truly, not who I've been portraying to be, that's how I found my path. Because in all honesty, I knew that was my path all along. My soul knew this, right? I've said this before. Our soul is an iCloud from many reincarnations. The past lives that we have had in our past and reincarnated back on this earth, our soul has a memory of all of that. And therefore, it's like an iCloud. So our soul knows what we're here to do, but our mind gets in the way, and the trauma that we went through also gets in the way and starts to distort your thought pattern, because you're not thinking clearly. You're thinking from a distorted frequency, which is a trauma that you have endured that is suppressed inside of you, which creates a distorted frequency. Because like I've said before, we are energy. But if how could we be the highest form of our energy ourselves if we have all this trauma inside of us that we have not handled and taken care of? Because the truth of the matter is, whether you've had a lot of trauma in your life or very little, it's still your job to be better and recognize who you are. Because we can sit here and blame this person and that person, but in reality, all these people are here for a reason, to play a role in our lives so we can tap into the true version of us and what our soul came here to do on this earth. But a lot of people don't learn their lessons. They just keep going in a loop and a loop and a loop. But you're not here to do that. You're here to learn your lesson. That's why you're watching my podcast. And you're not only here to learn your lesson, you're here to heal. And you're not here to heal just to heal. You're here to find what your truth is, what you're really here for, because you don't want to be that person that's going to go to a 9 to 5 job and then just be unfulfilled. That's not what you're meant for, because you didn't go through all that just to live an average life. And nothing is wrong with people that are living an average life, but they're still on their own journey. Their soul is on a different level. Your soul has risen to a different level. That's why you can do surface level things, which includes 9 to 5 jobs. So that's why it is your job to find your purpose, your passion, but don't put too much pressure on it. Just focus on you, and eventually you will see what you are truly meant to do and be. Like I've said before, I've had many things that I love. I'm a very creative person, but I've even went to fashion school here, one of the top fashion schools here in Vancouver, and that was not something that I wanted to do as a career. I love fashion, I love makeup, I love putting things together. I'm very creative, but it wasn't something that I knew that was my true purpose. And then I realized, wait, I could still be that person that's creative, that's like puts myself together, but what comes out of my mouth is my true purpose, because that is my journey on this earth, to be seen, heard, not for my own benefit, to help others. Because, like I said, God didn't put me through all those painful experiences in my life not to just drown in that sorrow and that pain, but to overcome it, to help others. And now I literally have not only my own social media platform that I'm growing and being vulnerable on, I have my own podcast now. Was it scary? Yeah. Is it still scary sometimes for me to share my truth? Yeah. But you know what? I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you guys and say, no, 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 I'm healed now, so I'm like perfectly confident and not afraid to show up as this vulnerable side of me. But I am, and that's normal too. Because just because you heal and you become this highest version of yourself, you still have to practice being this new version of yourself, because for so long you were being someone that you were not. You were just acting and operating off of a unhealed version of you. And therefore, that wasn't the best version of you. And therefore, you would attract and want not the best things for you. But once you've healed, you still are going to feel uncomfortable in this new version of you, because you were acting off this old version of you for so long. But now it's your job to step into that new version of you every single day. And that's what I do. And the more I step into this version of me that speaks my truth, that helps people, that isn't afraid of what other people might say, especially people from my past, and the drama that I may cause for me speaking my truth, I don't care about that anymore. And I used to, because I used to protect everyone else's feelings and forget about mine. But I soon realized that me suppressing my truth to protect people that didn't even give a shit about me is something that I had to heal, which I did. And then I realized I need to put myself first. No, no, no. In a selfish way where you don't acknowledge people's feelings. In a selfish way where you know whose feelings to acknowledge. And even though it hurt people in your life that you still care about and that are still in your life, it's still your job to speak your truth, because you're not here to make anyone feel comfortable and make yourself feel uncomfortable. No, that's people pleasing tendencies, right? But, anyways, I'm jumping topics. But that's how I found my purpose. And like I said, is it scary? Yes, it still is scary. But the thing is, after you heal, life doesn't become automatically like easy, in the sense of like, okay, now I can just show up as this brand new version of me. No, that takes time. It's a transition phase too, even after you've healed. So now it's up to you to ask yourself, like, okay, all these things that happened in my life, they're all pointing towards one main wound in my life. And it's not maybe one main wound. You probably have many wounds, like I did. I had the fear of being seen, speaking my truth. I mean, they're all kind of same vulnerability in the sense of that, right? And also, I love to, I'm a very curious person. I always like to challenge the truth of what society thinks is the truth. So that helped me understand, while seeing everything that I went through, what my true purpose was, but not with my mind. It was my mind was connecting these things, but my soul was screaming out the answer. So it kind of like was both. My mind and my soul was like, oh, yeah, that's the answer. And then I got the answer. And that is your job now. So every wound that you've had, every pain that you went through, it all leads to one main pain, one main wound. Now recognize that, and then ask yourself, well, what is it that I really love to do? Because whatever area in your life you have the most fear around, the other end of that fear, of that area in your life, is where you're meant to succeed the highest. Because the more fear you have around that wound, the more you are meant for the other side of that fear. The more you are meant to overcome that fear and then reach the highest form of that opposite side of that fear. So, like me, if you have a fear of being seen, then my fear of being seen was so strong that I used to stutter. Because if I would speak in front of people, I would get scared and overwhelmed because my nervous system was so dysregulated. But if it was that bad for me, then the other end of that wound is my success. And crazy enough, then when I started healing and evolving and regulating myself and my nervous system, now I speak like the regulated version of me, the highest version of me, in the most confident way. and I show up as this true, authentic version of me. When I speak, people just want to listen and ask me for advice, random people. And I love that, to be honest, because I love to help people. But what I'm trying to say is the other end of my fear from that, it was so bad to the point where I was stuttering. Now, the other opposite side of that is me being seen, heard, and sharing my truth to help others. I had to go through what I had to go through and face that fear. And the other end of that fear was my highest form of success, which is being seen, being heard, speaking my truth, being that light, the catalyst. So you see, the stronger the fear you have around that wound, the more you're going to succeed once you heal that fear in that wound. So ask yourself, what is it that you love to do? I loved to talk to people. I love to help people. I love to dissect things and really uplift people. What is it that you love to do? And when you ask yourself that, you may not have the answer right now, but when you're in a flow state, when you are in that creative flow state, tap into that version of you. Meditate and ground yourself. Like go in nature, touch grass, literally touch grass while we still have the summer before it goes away and gets cold and rainy. Go touch grass and meditate. Because if you're healing and you're on your healing journey, then I'm sure you are doing something to ground yourself, whether it's meditation or whether it's another form of meditation that you do, whatever it is. But for me, I personally love to meditate, breath work, EFT tapping. I mean, I did a lot of things during my healing journey, which I will share in a different episode. But when I started doing all these things, that's what helped me understand what my true power and purpose is on this earth. And now I am that person now. I show up as that version of me. And every single day, the more I show up as that version of me, even when it's not perfect, the more I feel like that true highest version of me that is already healed, but still uncomfortable being this new version of me. So just tap into that version of, and don't be in any rush to find your purpose. Your purpose will come to you. You know it. Your soul knows it. But if once you stop thinking about what it is and putting too much pressure on yourself and just letting yourself be and see yourself for who you really are, the answer will come to you. But I've told you this and I'll say it again. Just look at the area in your life of all the pain that you went through. Look at it and then ask yourself, okay, I went through all these things. What is all the pain that I went through? What does it equate to? Okay, it equates to, like I said, for example, I'm gonna bring up myself again. Speaking my truth. Okay, that means that the other end of it, I'm meant to speak my truth. Now, it doesn't mean necessarily you have to be like me, where you have to have a platform and help people. No, it can be something else that you love to do with your voice. That could be anything, right? That could be anything. That could be a radio show host. That could be someone that loves to sing. That could be someone that just likes to yap on social media. Anything that you want to do. It doesn't have to be what I do. Or it could be that you are meant to do what I'm doing. Speaking your truth. Writing a book. Sharing your story. But at the end of the day, you don't need to figure out exactly what it is right now. You just need to pay attention to what it could be. Ask yourself these questions every day and just be aware of it. Because the truth of the matter is, you have the answer already. You know. You know what you're meant to do on this earth. And if you need a little extra help, you can go see someone on the spiritual side and they'll help you. They'll guide you. Look at your astrology chart. Go to a psychic healer. Whatever you want to do for yourself. Me personally, I've had a psychic healer where I would go to her and she confirmed everything that I didn't tell anybody about. And I was like, what the hell? How does she know I wanted to do all these things? I even forgot about it. I used to dream of this as a young age, but I completely forgot about it. Like completely forgot about it. And when she spoke truth to me about it, like, wait, you're meant to do this, 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 I was like, wait, what the hell? My soul was like screaming at me that this is what I'm meant to do. And my mind, I started finally catching up to, wait, this is what I'm meant to do. And now my psychic healer is telling me this. That's crazy. It gave me hope while I was on my healing journey that, wait, I went through all this and I'm actually meant for all that. And I'm not sitting here promoting that you should go to a psychic. No, no, no. I'm just giving you examples of what I did to help me lock into this healing journey of mine. Because sometimes when you're going through a lot and you're healing and you're evolving because you're strong enough to be like, fuck this, I'm going to heal, and I'm going to turn my life upside down for the better and start from scratch at my big age. You are stronger than many people in this world, because a lot of people will stay stuck in their reality and settle because they're afraid to start over, but you're not. So you've already started over. You've already started to heal, whether you're healing or on your healing journey or already over the healing journey and trying to figure out your purpose. During that time, going to someone that can guide you in a spiritual form will help, whether it's a life coach, whether it's a, like I said, psychic healer or astrologer, whatever it is, will give you hope in your life. And while you're healing and uncovering all that shit that you went through, all that trauma, and unboxing all that, it can get really painful. It can get really chaotic. And so you want to hold on to some form of hope. And we're human. Praying and believing in God is one thing, and the universe, whatever you want to call it, is one thing. But having some sort of confirmation from someone like an astrologer or a life coach or psychic gives you even more hope to hold on to, because sometimes we need that. Like, just like when you go to a friend and you want that motivation, it gives you hope, right? Same thing. And like I said, I'm not promoting you to go to any of these people that I've mentioned that I've went to. I'm just saying this is what I've done, and if you want to do the same thing, you can. But I found my purpose prior to going to the my psychic healer. But when I went to her, she just confirmed it, and that freaked the hell out of me. But it gave me so much hope, because I was going through so much hell that I was like, okay. Every time I would fall, because I fell many times during my healing journey, because it's never perfect, I always reminded myself I'm meant for more. And now, years later, I'm finally here. And now this is just the beginning of my new journey, the highest version of me. Because think about it. Everything that you went through wasn't for no reason. You went through all that because God, the universe, whatever you want to call it, is showing you that this is your purpose. Go through all this, that journey, and you will find so much strength in yourself, so much resilience, so much confidence. Once you go through all that pain that I put you through by having these people in your life and come out of it, you are going to be meant for more. That's literally what universe is saying to you. Because nobody is here to punish you. Nobody. We are not here on earth to be punished. We're here to learn. Earth is a school for our souls, so our souls can evolve. That's why we come back on this earth and reincarnate. And that's why the more we reincarnate, the more older our souls get, because we've learned many, many lessons. And therefore, the more we have reincarnated, the more lessons we have learned. The more lessons we have learned, and the more times we reincarnate, the harder the lessons. So, in this journey, if the lesson is going to be even harder, that means the success on the other end of that lesson, after you have learned your lesson and evolved from it, is going to be even greater and bigger, because you're not here for anything surface level. You're here for a greater purpose. You're here for something much bigger than yourself. You're here to spread your light. You're here to speak your truth. You're here to challenge the masses. You're here not to follow what society has wanted you to follow and wanted all of us to follow. You're here to break down the illusions and show people the truth of not only themselves but this world. So don't play small. Don't stay stuck in that career that you probably are not fulfilled in. And I'm not sitting here saying that you should quit your job now. I'm saying that during your path, you'll know what's right for you. And when things start to get too comfortable for you, when things start to fall apart for you in your life, just know that that just means the universe is breaking down the old parts of you and things that no longer serve you. And that includes your career as well, not just people. And when that happens, that just means something else is coming your way. But you have to be able to receive those guidance that you're getting from your spirit team. And the only way you can do that is by trusting yourself. And the only way you can trust yourself is by grounding yourself. And the only way you can ground yourself is by healing yourself and looking after yourself. And you're already doing that. So if you're on your journey, you'll find your purpose. But one thing I know for sure is you're not here to play small. So don't play small, and don't overthink on what you think your purpose is. Just focus on what you think is right for you. So I'll give you an example. So I have a best friend. When she was younger, she loved Harry Potter. Like, she loved it so much. And till this day, she loves Harry Potter. And I think that's really cute. And now she writes her own books and writes in a form that is in the mystical form. It's like a story that she's telling. And now, and every time she writes that book, she feels so amazing, so connected to her true self. And every time she writes, she gets all these downloads on what to write. She doesn't even realize she's getting downloads. And I finally told her, I was like, girl, those are downloads that you're getting. She's like, yeah, I didn't realize. Just these thoughts just flow. I'm like, yeah, because you're doing what you love, your purpose. I'm like, this is what you're meant for. And she's like, oh my God, that is so true. I didn't realize. I love doing this. I get into such a flow state. And I was like, yeah, because you've always loved this mystical stories like Harry Potter, and now you're writing your own. So yeah, she loves all those mystical novels like Harry Potter. Now she's writing on her own for fun. She thought it was for fun or just like a stress reliever. No, it wasn't for fun. But I mean, yeah, it is fun. Your purpose should be fun, something that you just effortlessly do, and that's literally what she did. And that's why she went to flow state, and she didn't even realize it. And I was like, "Girl, you need to do this." And whether she does that for her career or not, that's up to her, right? But she found something that she loved, and all along, it was what she always loved to do and what she always was interested in. And now she turned it around with all these things that she loved at a young age into her own way by creating her own stories on her spare time as a stress reliever, and that's amazing. And like I said, whether she turns it into a career path or not, it's up to her. But that's just a story for you guys to understand. Like, look, like that, your purpose is something that you've always loved to do. But like I said, you're not here to dissect on what exactly that purpose is. Don't give it too much thought. Just just give the thought of what I just said in this episode, and that's that. And like every day, while you're focusing on yourself, you will eventually get the answer. But now you understand how to kind of get the answer. Well, at least I hope so, through my story and advice and the examples that I gave you about my friend. So, anyways, I hope you guys liked this episode, and I kind of kept it a little bit short this time. I just want to give you guys some advice on finding your purpose, because I have finally found my purpose. I'm at the best place in my life, and it's only going to get bigger and better from here. It doesn't mean that this is the end all be all for me now on social media and helping people and on my podcast. No, this is just the beginning. But as I keep stepping into this version of myself, I will have more answers for myself on what to do next. So what I'm trying to say is, don't think about the end of the road. Just take one step at a time, and eventually you will find what is meant for you. Because at the end of the day, you didn't come on this earth and go through all that for nothing. Remember that. So, anyways, I hope you guys liked this episode. And if you guys have any questions, I've said this before, you can always email me. My email's in my bio. You can follow me on TikTok. I try to post daily inspirations on there. And my TikTok handle is Prashida888, Prashida888, and my name is in my bio as well. I believe so. And anyway, so hope you guys love this episode, and I will be back next week. Bye.